Welcome to the next episode of MiraCosta Ask an Expert. Today we have the blessing, honor, and privilege of having with us our dear friend, Gunnery Sergeant Deverson Lochard. And before we start, I want to extend our deepest appreciation to our dear colleague, Professor Lochard, Cassandra, and your family who made this possible to have this opportunity. Thank you all for your submitting your questions that you submitted. I think the questions would give us opportunity to get to know Deverson Lochard. And so without any further ado, let's get started on the questions. So let me share the screen with you so you can see the questions. Deverson, the first questions from the students. Thank you for all your services. Who is Gunnery Sergeant Deverson Lochard today? How did you manage to get where you are today? And are you related to Professor Cassandra Lochard?
Well, thank you very much for having me here. I'm glad to be able to help out, students from MiraCosta College. As you know, I attended MiraCosta Community College back from 2013 to 2015 before transferring over to San Diego State to continue on with my education. So who am I? Well, that's interesting. I guess I would say that I am a family man, a husband, a father. I'm the son of a couple of immigrants. I'm an immigrant in this country. So I came here and seized on the opportunity of what this country has to offer. And I would have to say that I did have a goal in mind, ultimately. And that goal, even though I did not follow the conventional path, I did take a detour along the way, but I still was able to achieve what I've set my mind to begin with. I recalled first coming to US, I had an interest in robotics and electronics. And it always piqued my interest. I like to disassemble stuff. Few times I've had my father just questioning what the heck was I doing and all. I was just curious, One time he purchased a brand new radio. He went to work, came back, the radio is apart. And I had tried to put it back together and I was left with 3 extra screws in my hand. And you know how the rest goes. It's always the same thing. Well, I joined the Marine Corps a couple of years after graduating high school. Reason why I joined is because I was not quite ready to attend college at the time. I guess I knew myself. That's not something I wanted to do. So was able to join the Marine Corps. I got to travel around. I was able to, per se, find myself, become more focused on everything that I set out to do. I met great people along the ways, people who mentored me, and people that I'm still friends with today. Then I've met them, starting back in early 2000. And still to this day, we are 2021, and I'm still in contact with those individuals who have a major impact in my life. How have I managed to get to where I'm at today? Well, as I mentioned, I had the goal in mind. And no matter what, I was going to achieve that goal. When it came time for me to separate from the military, I talked it over with my family, my wife especially, and we made a decision that it was going to be the right one, and she supported me along the way. I think that was the biggest thing that I had in my corner, having her support here along the way, helping me out. Even at times when the going got tough, she was still here to support me along the way. So I did not achieve that all by myself, but I had her along the way. Am I related to Dr. Cassandra Lochard? Yes, she's my wife, and she did help me out along the way. She did definitely help me out with some of the problems that I had in school, the differential equation. She helped me out. Even during some of my engineering classes, she may not have known the applications of what I was doing, but she knew the math, which was was pretty good. Definitely helped me. I guess I had that little extra over some of my classmates, having my own personal tutor at home.
Well, wonderful. Thank you. Next question. Thank you. What motivated you to join the Marine Corps, and how did you achieve the level of Marine Corps Gunnery Sergeant? What advice do you have for people who want to follow in your footsteps?
Well, I would say there was a path that people that I was associated with at the time that they were going into, and my gut feeling told me that I probably should have not followed that path. So the way out of it was to join the Marine Corps. By joining the Marine Corps, it definitely opened my eyes. There was more to what I was exposed to. And as I mentioned before, I was able to connect with great leaders, people that taught me that there are more than to life than just what what I had in my mind at the time. So while in the Marine Corps, I definitely grew. I became a more mature individual. And as I climb up the ranks in the Marine Corps, as I assumed more responsibility, I learned that it wasn't about me. It was about the people that I'm leading, and it was about, can I provide a positive influence to the leaders, to my superiors above me, because they're starting to trust me. One example is we deployed to Iraq. That was part of the initial push to in the operations Iraqi Freedom. So I've had that experience. When we came back, I was paired with a brand new lieutenant, fresh out of college, which he was by the books. All he knew, all the knowledge that he knew about on the battlefield was from books. But I managed to mentor him and tell him, I understand that the book says this. However, having seen firsthand, our book were kind of outdated. They were, the books that they were using were outdated. They were not brought up to the type of tactics that the enemy that we were fighting were utilizing. So I was able to convey to him what he was doing was kind of outdated in the book. The book was a good foundation, but we had to stay ahead, at least 2 steps ahead of what the people were doing that we are facing, And he took it, he listened to me, and we became a great team. Anytime that the lieutenant, for example, would want to give a patrol order, I tell him, before you give it to the Marines, let me listen to it. I can critique it and let you know what you're missing, what we can do, what's not necessary, based on the skill set of our Marines. And if there is something that we need to do, and I felt that we did not have that skill set, I'll tell them, hey, let's put some time aside to train the Marines on that skill set to ensure that we succeed in the mission. So that's the type of things that I did. And when I did those, I never did anything for me. I always did it for the junior Marines, to what's beneficial to them, to keep them alive. One mission of mine, every single Marines that I've led, was always to get them back home alive. That was my mission. And I can say that, knock on wood, if I was to go back, I've accomplished that. Every single Marine that I've led, we all came back home alive.
The
How
plus.
did I achieve the level of a gunnery sergeant? By doing exactly what I told you. A lot of times I've seen leaders above me, I'll go talk to them. What did you do to get to the level that you are right now? What was your path? What did you find beneficial? What helped you out? A lot of people, we are in our little bubble. We are too proud to ask questions. We need to get out of our system. Don't be too proud. Ask questions. The worst thing that they can tell you is, oh, I don't have time right now. Or they tell you, hey, let's set up a meeting. I'll gladly talk to you. Regardless, just don't be afraid to approach people. Just ask them questions. So that's what I did. And I went ahead and got promoted meritoriously to a few ranks. I was meritoriously promoted to the rank of sergeant, and I was also meritoriously promoted to the rank of staff sergeant, which definitely elevated me above my peers. But the main thing that I was able to change was I spoke to my peers also. I'm like, look, now that I am a staff sergeant or whatever the case is, your solo sergeant, understand that we owe this to the Marine Corps, the Marine Corps order. We cannot fraternize. Yes, it sucked, but it doesn't say that I cannot have a laugh with my friends I grew up with. Like, we could laugh, we could do whatever the case is, but understand that I will give you orders. You may not like them, but if you respect me, you'll follow those orders. Again, it comes down to communications, and that's how I was able to win over my friends, my peers, when I was passing them. And mind you that I was also teaching them the ways. I was also teaching them what is it that I did to get where I was. I knew that in the Marine Corps, to be successful, one, you have to be pretty much a good marksman. You have to pretty much be in tip-top shape physically and mentally. You have to be able to guide people under duress. So that's what I did. I channeled all of that, and every little pieces that I've learned from everybody, I gathered pieces. I gathered, okay, this is good. I'm going to use, this is not so quite for me. So I'm going to let that go. So that's what I did. I just learned bits and pieces from everybody else. I'll cut you on the question. What advice do I have for people who want to follow my footsteps? I don't recommend you following in anybody's footsteps. I recommend that you get a goal, something in mind, something that you want to achieve, and follow that path. The moment you think that you want to be like in somebody else, you are failing. Don't try to be like anybody else. You have to be true to yourself, true to your belief, true to what is it that you want to do. Because I'll tell you, a lot of sacrifice went along the way for what I've achieved. Some may handle the sacrifices that I've made, some may not. It's all about you. It is, what is it that you want to achieve? Do you want to, go to school, be an engineer, go to school, be a teacher, or separate from, put school on pause, go in the military and come back? It's all on you. What is it that you want to do? Me, that's what I did. I went to the military because I knew that I needed to escape whatever the world that I was in, but it turned out to be a success for me. And I came back and I had this maturity level that some of the people that I hung out with did not have. So I knew that it was time to separate myself from them. And that's what I did. Nothing against them, but it was my goal, my personal goal. And that's what I recommend that you do. Set up goals for you, for yourself. There's one thing that was once said to me before. If you want to be successful, find successful people and associate yourself with these successful people. it's phenomenal. Like that energy that they have would radiate onto you. Like you won't even know. It's just unconsciously you start doing stuff. You start, okay, I have this work due. I still got to go to work. You come back from work. If you have a family, you spend time with your family, but you go back and get your work done, get your homework done, instead of going out, drinking or whatever, partying. I'm not saying not to do that. You are young. You should enjoy life, but in moderation. If you have that goal that you want to achieve, if you have a party to go to and you have 4-hour window to study, go out for that 1 hour and save 3 hours to study. That's the mindset that you should have.
Thank you. That's those are so valuable advice. Thank you so much. The next question, kind of following this question. Thank you. The question is, let me share it with you. Thank you for your service. My question for you is, what is one tip advice you have for students who are unsure of their path in their academics, careers, or in life? And I want to expand that question. If you can also talk a little bit, you mentioned you were right out of high school, you were associating with friends that you needed to get away and you trusted your gut feeling and you joined the Marine Corps. Can you elaborate? Because we work with a lot of students who come from neighborhood, who the peer pressure can impact what decision they make after high school. How did you enable yourself to trust your gut feeling and move away from that peer pressure? If you can elaborate on that also, that would be wonderful.
So, as I said, my parents are immigrants to the US. I had a very good foundation at home where I saw my father waking up at 4 a.m. every morning to go to work and not coming back sometimes until 7 or 6 p.m. the evening. Same with my mom waking up at 6 a.m. to get all of us kids ready for school. And then she'll go to work. And then she comes back from work, making dinner and everything for our family. And she brought us together. And it would have been a discredit for me to see how the hard work that my family would do, my mom and father were doing, for me to just go and associate myself with individuals who do not have your best interests in mind or at heart, And it is up to you to see that. It is up to you are you going to fall into the peer pressure? You know the rules, everybody knows it. You and only you can choose what you are going to do. Yes, there's peer pressure out there, but you have to calculate the risk. Definitely calculate it. Is it going to be beneficial to you in the long run? At the moment, I was 17 years old. I graduated high school at 17. I wanted to go to the military right out of high school. Reason why? Because when I was a junior in high school, I had a friend, he was a senior in high school, then he left, I became a senior. He went to boot camp and came back. And I just saw this transformation in him. He had like this new demeanor. The way he viewed things, like it was something different. His character changed. It's like, I cannot explain it, but he was a completely different person. His aspect at life was different. And I saw that and I'm like, I want that. That's what I want. To me, it was radiating positivity. It was like the way he carried himself. He's up straight, the way he answered questions. It was like something completely different about him. So that's what I targeted. But unfortunately for me, since I was 17, a minor, my father would not sign the consent form. So I went to community college for a couple of years, and I was just squandering my parents' money. My mind wasn't there. I personally wasn't there. I did not want to do it. That's not what my mind wanted to do. I just wanted to get away. And that's what I did. And that's what you too, I know you have that. All students listening to this, I know you have this. Is your mind there? If it's not there, nobody. In my case, I admire my father, but he couldn't force me to go to school at the time because my mind wasn't there. So it's all on the individuals, on what is it that you want to do. And follow your gut feelings. If you sense that something is off, it probably is. Get away from the situations that you're in. There's different ways to go about it. For me, I saw that the military was the best way for me to develop, to go as a man that I am today. That's the path that I've chosen. But some of you, if you choose, I know it's hard to leave everything behind, to leave your family behind, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do. And you have to trust in your decision. Do not second guess that decision. If you make a decision saying, this is for my future, this is for me as a whole, this is for me when I'm going to start a family, this is what will benefit that family that I'm starting, or even if you have a family now, things happen, you may have a kid, whatever the case is. Don't look down on that as a burden. Don't look down on that as being disgraceful. No, that should be your motivation to go ahead and make something of yourself. And school is not for everybody either. Like me, school wasn't for me at that time, but I chose to do something with myself. If you have a hobby of fixing cars or whatever, get your certificate. There's always need for mechanics. You learn how to be a mechanic, whatever the case is, then boom, you're like, you know what? I'm a lot brighter than a lot of those people. What can I do to be their boss so whatever the case is, and you learn that, all right, becoming a mechanical engineer, you can develop different things. Like you have ideas, whatever the case is, your mind should always be running, should always be racing. You should always be challenging yourself. Anything that you do, you should be going in your mind, okay, how can I make this better? Challenge yourself, push yourself. And that's what I did.
Amazing. Thank you very much. That's wonderful. Next question. God bless you for all your services. We have many classmates who are veterans coming back to civilian life after many years of dedicating their lives to our world and country. Please share with us how you managed to recover from the fatal injury you faced during your deployment in Iraq, and how has been the experience of coming back to civilian life? How can we support our classmates who are going through the same thing?
All right, so the military definitely, as a veteran, I definitely grew. Yes, I've sustained some injuries, and luckily for me, I had good support around me. I had my wife, I had my mom and dad, my siblings, they were all there supporting me. I think if you see a veteran, sometimes most veterans very reserved. Me, I was very reserved in school. It took me quite a while to open up to fellow students. That's normal, because once you get out of the military, you've been around people, now you're learning people. You're learning how to deal with people, you're learning how to handle things. I remember when I first separated from the military, after 3 months, I was second guessing my decision, my choice. Did I make the right decision to getting out? Because I went from being the man, to now go into school and like, and it is as if that the light at the end of the tunnel was never going to come, but it was surely coming. The main thing as a veteran, you have to remain patient. And that's the biggest thing. Because right now we live in a society where people wants to see instant results right away. In everything that they do, they just want to see instant results. But when in actuality, it's like an iceberg, right? All they see is the very tip of the iceberg, but underneath the surface of the water below is what, the 80% of the iceberg of all the hard work that you're doing, all the late nights that you are staying up studying, you don't understand, all those extra hours that you go into office hours because you did not understand an equation or a problem, all those extra time that, you're trying to write that paper and you get that writer's block and you're trying to, all of those are like trials and errors at life that you must overcome. And as your fellow veterans that they are going to go through this, the main thing, as I mentioned before, associate yourself with successful people and success radiating off of you. Same thing for the veterans. I'm not saying to go and use people in any way because you're not going to get anything out of it either, that education that you are trying to get. It's a matter of understanding the whys. Why is this being done? All the fundamentals. There's a reason why we start out in calculus, for example. There's a reason why we start out with the Riemann sum before we go into the derivatives, right? There's a reasons for that. And that's the thing about school is understand the bases. No matter how complex the problem is, as long as you understand the roots, the bases, you'll solve it. That's just analogy because I'm with math all the times. I think it's being able to talk to the veteran. Sometimes the veteran will not want to disclose what they've been through. Me, I'm reserved. I keep that to myself. I don't think people need to know about what I've been through. That's just me, and I'm sure there's quite a few veterans that way. It's normal, it's common, but as you get to know them, they'll open up to you as you get to work with them. The main thing is, at the instant that veteran tells you, "Hey, can I have a moment of your time?" Just know that, just give that individual that moment of your time, because they might be looking for help, and you might be a person that they are connected with, that you may even providing an ear just to listen will help them out greatly. Sometimes it's okay to vent, to let stuff off your chest, to let to remove that rock off of your shoulders. And sometimes that's why it's needed. If they ask you for the help, be there for them, listen to what they have to say. And that's the best kind of support they can provide them.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Next question. Thank you for being here with us. How can we be an advocate for our beloved wounded warriors transitioning to civilian life? How can the community colleges support such endeavors more effectively?
So my last job in the Marine Corps, I was a transition coordinator in Bethesda, Maryland. So Bethesda, Maryland is the hub in Bethesda, Maryland, the Naval Hospital in Bethesda, Maryland. And what I did was all of the wounded Marines and sailors, or whatever the case is, would go there depending on depending on the seriousness of the injury. That was a way to provide them with physical therapy and all that. So there were veterans who had all kinds of needs. Some veterans wanted to separate. My job was to find out what that veteran wanted to do and where they wanted to go back, if they wanted to go back home to their home state, their home city, or whatever the case is, to find out and talk to them about the next step, the next phase in life, of their lives. Because it is extremely difficult to have somebody 19, 20 years old, full of testosterone, high on life, and all of a sudden you lose a leg from a freak accident, freak injury. The outlook for that individual will change completely, drastically, where they think that they are now a failure, whatever the case is, that they might have been a high school football star, whatever, during the service because they were patriotic, and all of a sudden they get injured and they feel so low in life. Our goal is to pick them up, let them know that is just a bump on the road. That life is a marathon. You don't fully sprint the 22 miles. You don't sprint the entire way. It's a slow process. Along the way, you will hit bumps, speed bumps. You may hit a hill, but don't let that slow you. And that's what I've observed. And my job was to talk to them. Some of them did not even want to go to school or anything. They just wanted to just be in a wheelchair or whatever. And it is our job to talk to them, motivate them, to let them know that it is not the end. You have a brain, you could still freaking do something of yourself. You could still keep living your life. Yes, now you have to adjust your way of living, but you are still living. So be thankful for that. So going back to what I was doing at Bethesda, so I was the transition coordinator. So if a veteran needed assistance needed to go to school, I would contact the school, ensure that they were set up, registered and everything, or whatever test, entrance exams that they needed. I'll make sure that all that was ready and set. If some veterans needed like housing assistance, whatever the case is, I will contact the local community to have, for example, Habitat for Humanity, build them a home. Like they'll do that, and the home will be adjusted for that individual for all the needs. If needed to be equipped with a ramp or whatever the case is, they'll have that. So that's what I did. And the main thing is to instill confidence into them, to let them know that it is not the end all be all. You can still achieve that goal that you have in mind, and you can continue on with it. So I think just talking to them, having them believe in themselves, that's exactly how I think you can help them out.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Next question. Thank you for all your services. There's a picture of you in the White House meeting our president at the time, President Barack Obama. Can you share with us how that experience was for you?
So that event was in the White House. It was to commemorate the withdrawal of all the troops out of Iraq at the time. That's what it was. And I guess I happened to be at the right place, right time, being stationed in Bethesda. What I've seen another side of, at the time, President Barack Obama. A side that you never saw in the media or anything. One thing about him was he was extremely vested in our veterans. Like, we may have not seen it in the background. However, every time there was an injured Marine that came back, or whatever service member, an injured service member that came back from theater, he was there to receive them, no matter what. We always saw in the news, he went to such and such country, whatever. During that time, or injured service member will come back. As soon as he comes back from whatever visit that he was doing, he was at Bethesda, greeting them. He was there, assuring them whatever the Purple Heart or whatever the case may be. He was always there, greeting their family, thanking them for the sacrifices that they made. And I think that did a lot for those Marines, for those individuals. I keep saying Marines, I apologize, because, but for all those service members, and I felt like it did a lot for them. Definitely did a lot for me, like having the President of the United States thanking me personally for my services to my country. And that's what he's doing. That I think that was the best way for him to try to link up with those service members that he's the commander-in-chief, that he's in charge of, to sit there and lead them and all. Unlike some of our congressmen, I'm not going to name any names or pick on them, but a lot of them do a lot of talking, but no action. He, on the other hand, was there. Like, he would show up, he would be there, he would ask questions about the family, making sure that those individuals were well taken care of. Then I have to say that was his baby. That was something that he was extremely vested in, ensuring that all the wounded warriors and all get the help and the services that they needed, that all the organizations that were there to help them were involved there. It was an extremely great experience, having dinner with the President of the United States at the time, and I sat directly next to him. So it was a great experience. Got to talk to the man one-on-one. Got to find out, his personal views on everything, on how everything has been unfolding and all. It's definitely an experience that I cherish, that I'll carry with me for the rest of my life.
Thank you for sharing that with us. Thank you. Next question. Next question from Sim. Do you have any children? What advice do you have for students who are starting higher education after age of 25 or sometimes with children?
Yes, I do. I have 3 boys. And for me, at the time when I separated, my oldest was just born. Like, he was born in August, and that same week, I made the decision that I was going to separate. Then 2 months later, in October, I separated from the service. It's hard. There's no other way to say it. It's just hard, but I would not change. I will not change it. I will not trade all the times that I have. The fact that I was able to spend time with my boys, and I'm able to spend time with them now. I recall sometimes in the afternoons or in the evenings, as I'm sitting there doing my homework, my son is climbing all over my back, riding me like a horse and all. And yet I'm still doing my work. And those are great moments. Those moments, that was a reminder for me. This is why I'm doing what I'm doing right now. So I can keep spending time with my boy, have a positive influence on them at life. Because all my 3 boys, all they see now is just my wife solving problems, math problems, and me solving math problems. That's all they preview to in life. That's the only thing that they see. And that's why here they have in their mind, oh, I want to be a mathematician. I want to be an engineer when I grow up. And so that's not me saying you will do that, but that's them saying it themselves, because that's what they're seeing. And understand that you are a role model to your children, to your kids, whatever the case is. You may not see it, but everything that you do, the way you conduct yourself, the way you carry yourself, your kids will emulate you. Like it or not, those little minds, they are watching you like a hawk, more than a hawk, like some CIA operative that's bugged your house or whatever the case is. That's how they're watching you. So in your mind, just tell yourself you are no longer doing that just for you anymore. It's not about you anymore. And that's what clicked in my head. I'm like, this is no longer just about me. It is now about my son. It is now about, my wife that's here supporting me. So that's also my motivation to finish it. One is have a goal. That's number one. Have a goal. Two, stay on track, get to that goal. I understand there's going to be some bumps, some bumps on the road along the way. The path is never easy. Some may have a straight shot, yes. Some of us, we may have to endure losses in families, whatever the case is. It happens. It's life. It's life. It's normal. But as long as you stick with it, you see the rewards, like they'll pay great dividend.
Thank you. That's wonderful advice. And as a fellow mathematicians, God bless you. Thank you for educating future mathematicians.
And one more on that. The advice for students who are starting higher education after the age of 25. Starting this late, you now have a maturity level. One thing I was shocked about, because I started school back up again, I was 31 years old when I started school, 31 years old. I was shocked about the amount of students that did not turn in their homework. It just baffled me. You are paying for this. Why don't you do your work? If you don't want to do it, don't squander your money. Just get rid of it. Just put your money somewhere else, because you are cheating yourself. In everything that you do, if you think that you're not going to need to put extra work in it, you are lying to yourself. You are extremely lying to yourself. So just starting older means you're wiser, and hopefully your head is on your shoulders and you can focus more on what needs to be on to achieve your goal.
Thank you. Students, please listen to this. These are so valuable in life. All right, let me share my screen. Next question. Did you face any discrimination or hidden biases during your studies or professional lives? How did you overcome them, and what drove you to persist?
Well, we understand this question comes from with the current climate of what our country is currently going through. You're not going to be able to please everybody 100% of the time. If you're doing things to please others, because the way others think about you, then you have a problem. Just carry yourself like a model citizen. Know what's right, know what's wrong, and conduct business as usual with, again, that goal in mind. I keep on going back to that goal in mind. Set up that goals, objectives. Once you reach that goal, go to the next objective. You should not ever settle. And so what that person doesn't like you? Stay away from them. That's the best thing that I can say to you. You are not going to please everybody. Somebody's going to dislike you because you're wearing a yellow shirt. Someone's going to dislike you because, I don't know, you have a black backpack. Everybody will have something to say about you. You should learn how to let those negative criticism just skip over your head. If they don't bring any positive value into your mission, into what is it you want to achieve, you need to learn how to just let it go, thick skin. Just let it go. Don't let it affect you. We are fortunate enough that we live in a country where opportunities are provided for everybody. If you feel like someone is out to get you, there's the appropriate channels to address, to report those individuals. Fortunately for me, I had not had any of my professors that I've had who I felt treated me unfairly. If anything, I thought I was too hard on myself sometimes. Because if I got an A-, it's like the sky was falling. Because I wanted to know, how did I do on? How did I overlook this? It was mostly about me criticizing myself. I'm like, man, maybe I should have studied that extra 5 minutes instead of going to sleep or whatever the case is. But I think in life, you should learn how to not let other people's opinion of you affect the way you are in your life, affect the way you do, to achieve what is it that you want to achieve. The moment you let those people affect you, you're on the losing side of that battle. You will be on the losing side. Am I going to lie and be ignorant that there are that there's no prejudice? Yes, there is. But if you feel that someone is not treating you fairly, separate yourself from the situation and go to the appropriate channels to report those individuals. But don't sit there. I'm not saying not to defend yourself, but don't be smarter. Be smarter than that. Don't fall into the trap. Sometimes it's a trap. Some people are trying to get a reaction out of you because they have nothing else better to do at life. You're on a mission. Focus on your mission at hand. Separate yourself from bad situations. That's the best advice I can give on that matter.
That's a great advice. That's a great advice. Thank you. Thank you very much. Next question. Did you ever feel underrepresented in the field you're working on?
Well, I would say that there are not too many African Americans who decide to take electrical engineering. I can say that. There was myself and another guy in my workplace, both electrical engineers who are African Americans. It's all on the individuals. It's all on their upbringing. It's all on you also. If you have in your mind that math is hard, that you tell yourself, oh, I cannot do it because it's too hard. There's nothing I can do about that. You have to change your mindset. You just have to tell yourself, yes, it is difficult, but I'm not going to let it defeat me. Yes, it is difficult. Let me find out what is it that I'm struggling with and get help into what is it that I'm struggling with. Do not be too proud to ask for help. While I was at MiraCosta, I lived in the Math Learning Center. That was my home away from home. I get out of class with, I've taken the likes of Dr. Nakamura, Dr. Perovich. I've taken them, Dr. Towers, who's now retired, Dr. Raja, who's now retired. I've taken all their classes. Boy, am I glad I've taken them. I know my mathematics. I know everything that I need to know in mathematics. Why? Because when I transferred to state, I felt like my math knowledge was far superior than the students who started there as a freshman. The reason why I say that is because our classroom setting was smaller. If I had a question, it got answered right there in the classroom. Can you imagine sitting in a stadium sitting with 500 other students? And if you have the questions, the professor is on the timeline. That professor is not going to stop for you. Your question will be, you have to address it to the TA, the teacher's assistants. That's who would answer them. But at MiraCosta, I was able to understand the train of thoughts of these professors while they were teaching on the board. Like I would raise my hand, they'll stop, and I say, I'm kind of lost. Can you go back and what you did there? Can you explain what you did to get there? And they'll do it instantly. And if I needed extra practice, I went to the Math Learning Center and I sat there. I had the likes of T, Ashley, I'm sure she's still there. All these tutors, I know their name, like Bryce, another tutor that was there. I know their names. Why? I was practically living there. And again, I had the goal in mind. And to achieve my goal, I know that, okay, if I'm struggling with this, go to the Learning Center. I even went to the Writing Center, making sure that all my thesis statements will properly convey at the beginning. And before each paragraph, I told them what I was going to tell them. I tell them what I'm telling them, and then I told them what I told them already. The whole thing, the writing, those little tricks right there, I still use to this day. And that's, again, it's all on you. Have that goal in mind. Have a goal. If you do not have a goal, I don't think you should be wasting your time in school. Do something else. But if you do have a goal, don't let anything get in your way into achieving that goal. Just move with it.
Thank you. Thank you. People who are watching this, as Sergeant Deverson mentioned, community college rock.
It does.
Thank you very much. Next question. Some of our student populations who have been disproportionately impacted by a lack of equity and diversity in higher education are from historically marginalized communities. As a scientist, educator, engineer, scholar, how do you suggest we can bring diversity into a STEM field?
Well, it starts out with the mindset. It all starts out in the mindset. If you wake up in the morning and say, oh man, this sucks, I gotta get out of bed, your entire day is just gone. Right there. It's just the mental vibe that it's all on your attitude. Nobody else can change your attitude but you. But I understand life happens. I understand that. Understand that you may not be feeling it that day, but don't let that one day turn into weeks, and that those weeks turn into months, and those months turn into years. And then you've wasted your whole life dwelling on something that happened in the past. Learn from what happened in the past, but don't dwell in the past. You have no control of what's already gone by. We don't have, as far as I know, we have not invented a time machine yet to go back and change the mistakes that we've made. But the best thing that you can do is learn from those mistakes. And that's what I do, especially as an engineer. I've got to have a short-term memory. I'm like, all right, this failed. Let me analyze why this failed so I don't fail again the next time. So now I'm like, okay, I cannot put too much of a voltage here because I'm going to blow up this resistor or whatever the case is. So that's the same thing in life. Don't cry over spilled milk. All those things, you've heard them before, but I'm going to reiterate them for you. Is life happens, you get challenges, examine the challenges, see what the best course of actions are for you to overcome those challenges, learn from those challenges, difficulties, and move on. Because the moment you sit there dwelling, you're losing. You are being left behind. Do not wallow on your sorrows. Do not do that. Just learn from your mistake. Mistakes happens. It's normal. We all make mistakes in life. That's normal. We are humans. But understand the magnitude of your mistakes also. Some you cannot recover from, but you could still learn from. And that's the same thing. Learn from whatever it is that you did wrong, and do not repeat those mistakes. And only you have got to want to better yourself. Nobody else can want it for you. You know, my son plays football. I want him to run faster sometimes, but there's nothing I can do unless he decides that he's going to run fast to bypass whoever, the safety or whatever. You know, he plays wide receiver, running back, and tight end sometimes. And sometimes I'm like, Eric, it was wide open. If you had run a little bit faster, you could have cut back on it and got it. But that's all I can say. I can show him, you know, that's what I can do as a father, show him where he went wrong, and hopefully he learns from that. A lot of time he does learn from it, because I know what he's capable of. And just like you, we've all heard of the saying, know yourself and seek self-improvement. That's not a lie. That's a real thing. Know yourself, seek self-improvement. Know what is it you want to achieve. Get with that goal. I keep on saying that everything, I keep on reiterating this, have a goal in mind. If you don't have a goal, you're just going to be wandering around. Don't be lost. Have a goal. You achieve that goal, set a next goal, get to that one, get a next one, go to that one. That's the path that I would say that one should take.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. That was wonderful. You attended next question. You attended community college. What courses did you take in college, which still help you today in your work?
Well, as I mentioned, I've taken courses with Dr. Raja, Dr. Pervich, Dr. Towers, Dr. Nakamura, all the classes. So all the 3 calculus sequences that I've taken, the linear algebra, which has matrices, and I still use those today. My differential equations, I still use those today. My calculus, all the integrals, the derivations, I still use those today. The classes that I've taken in geometry, the unit circle, I still use those today. And on the daily, that's what I use in my work. And one thing that I usually tell my friends is, as I'm getting my education, my trophies are the books that I've used in those classes. My books are like in my office, loud and proud, displayed. I display them, proudly display them. Why? because I conquered those books. And second, as soon as I come across a problem, I'm like, oh, I did see that before. Let me get that book. I open it and I reference it. Boom, I know how to do it. Not wasting time. Sometimes, I'm so glad that Google is helpful sometimes, but sometimes I'll sit there and I'll read the equations that I saw back in Calc 1. I'm like, oh yeah, that's how we do it. Okay, I got it. Then translate into MATLAB, create a function for it, and so on and so forth. But all of the core classes, if you aspire to be an historian, for example, you know that history requires a lot of writing. So all your English and all your writing, communications, all that comes into play. I did take communications, the 2 classes of communications at MiraCosta. I, to this day, still communicate a whole lot. I have to communicate my ideas to my teammates. Whenever I have presentations, we have, the customer wants to see a presentation, a demonstration of the work that I've worked on. I have to give a speech on what is it that I'm doing. How was I able to achieve this? What were some of the hardships that I encountered? What were some obstacles? What were some lessons learned that I have for the team? We all know now in technology, everything revolves around time and money. You're wasting time at work, you're losing money. And it is important that I stick with that notion that time is money. That if I don't give them a well-oiled machine, a product that's been tested, stress tested over and over again, like any ideas, anything that you have that possibility that may cause it to fail, you test that and it doesn't fail, you're winning. And you show them, like, sometimes the customer may ask you a question from freaking left field, way up in left field. You have to be ready for those. So all the classes that I've taken, all the core classes for engineering that I've taken, I use all the math. I use all of them. And then in my line of work, I use all the upper division mathematics that I've taken. And it's not even the upper division mathematics. All the math that you need to learn, you learn it here at MiraCosta Community College. The upper level mathematics, it is just an applications on how do you apply all that math. So all the math that's given to you is all in little pieces. You get chunks there and there. But once you get there, you learn how to put them all together. And they keep coming back. If you decide to be a mathematician or go into the engineering field, they come back. There's no running away from them. So if you tell yourself, I don't like math, don't go engineering.
Thank you very much. Math is the language of God. So everyone loves it. All right, the last question. Thank you for being with us. Can you share with us the nature of a circuit design engineer's work? How does completing a digital signal processing program affects your current job?
So if we take any piece of electronics and we open it, we're going to see all types of circuitries. These circuitries, they have brains, there's control channels and everything in them. But when you connect them, they're not just going to talk to each other. You have to program them to talk to each other. So that's what circuit design does. We have also the hardware designer, but me, I work on the firmware side of the world, which is the programming inside those elements to get those elements to communicate with one another. So that's what a circuit designer does, and we design stuff on a very, very small level, like small chips, like inside your phones, like all the Intel chips. Those are just examples that I'm given. Why do I do the certificate in digital signal processing. I'll give you a little secret. In any work, anything that you do in life, find what's the most difficult thing within that field. Once you find what's the most difficult thing, take on that challenge. Why? It's a niche. People don't want to do it, but you want to do it. It's difficult. Now you have a skill set that is extremely valuable to the company. When it comes time to if for some reason there is a layoff or something happening within the company, you're the last person they're going to look at laying off. Why? Because you have a skill set that's in demand. In my field, I've chosen digital signal processing. It is extremely difficult. Very difficult concept. And I use it as a niche. Not everybody wants to do it. But me, I love the math that's involved with it. So I don't find it too difficult, but there's still a high level of difficulty. So anything in life, you find what's the most difficult thing is within your field that people don't like to do, you should love it because it has its perks. So I chose digital signal processing. One, I'm interested in the manipulation of signals, the ability to get some waveform, translate that waveform into some sort of circuitry into a language that the computer will understand. Then the computer will manipulate it, gather all the data that's in it that I need, reject the rest and pass it on, and sometimes transmit a new set of signal to go elsewhere. So very hard concept. And one other secret I have to tell you, one time at the moment, the United States, we do not have enough engineers. We do not have enough engineers, and not just engineers, is engineers that are capable of obtaining a clearance, a secret clearance, top secret clearance. We don't have enough of those. If you are one of those that's interested, you will be taking the right field. You'll be in the right field, and the field that is always employable. If you look at the job market, you'd see that maybe less than 1% of engineers stays unemployed for maybe for more than a week or less, or whatever the case is. They don't stay unemployed for long, very long. So that's the main thing. Find yourself a line of work that you're going to succeed in. Within that line of work, find a niche, something that nobody wants to do. Educate yourself in that niche and go from there. Another thing too, the technology is forever so evolving. It's always evolving. So it is important that as an engineer, you learn new methods, new ways, whatever new technologies that is happening. The next thing on the ballot for me is my master's degree. So I'm going to be pursuing a master's degree. But the reason why I pursued the certificate first is so I can learn digital signal processing a little bit more in depth. But I will hopefully in the next 2 or 3 years earn my master's within that field, digital signal processing, both in communications or radar technology, and to dive deeper into that field to make myself invaluable. You have to be, that's when it comes to your education, you have to be selfish about it. Meaning you have to be hungry. You have to want to keep on educating yourself. If you don't have that mindset, you're going to be left behind. It's extremely important in this field, in that line of work. Anything that you do while you are at work, if they ever have, lunch and learn, jump in those. You may have, that may spark something in you. Where you're like, oh, you know what? Maybe I can work on this on my own. While I'm at the house, I'm never idle. On my off days, I'm like this secret nerd that's like welding stuff, trying out new stuff, new circuitries and everything. And so that's what I do. And those are like the interests, just to keep perking my interest, to keep poking everything. And you'll see how far you excel, as long as it brings out an hunger in you.
Thank you, Sergeant Lochard. That was amazing. That was mind-blowing. It is fascinating when you talk about the waves and the signals. I think we can have at least 2-3 more hours of your time to talk about your field. But I know we have a time limit today. I really, from the bottom of our heart, on behalf of the students, on behalf of faculty, on behalf of the administration, I want to thank you for giving us your time and sharing such a valuable, such a wonderful advice for our students. And most importantly, I want to acknowledge your dear wife, our esteemed colleague, Professor Lochard, Cassandra, and the wonderful Lochard family that you so beautifully shared with us. Thank you. Please thank them on our behalf for giving us your time to be with you. If it's okay with you, I want to mention a few of the students' names who contributed to the questions and to this event's been happening. So I want to extend our deepest appreciation to Fatima, Amir, Savan, Ozzy, Vanessa, Sky, Mariela, Dania, Jacqueline, Hayat, Gabriel, Ismail, Daniela, Jorge, Tessa, Adrian, Devin, Alia, Alma, Madeline, Ronnie, Richard, Alisa, David, Nelson, Andy, Rafael, Rashad, Alvaro, Hector, Alondra, Jorge, Eduardo, Dishan, and many, many others whose questions and inspiration made such an event possible. I also want to extend our deepest appreciation to Success Team in the STEM Pathways at MiraCosta, the Academic Success and Equity Program, especially the Umoja Program, Sawa Bona Asher, Social Justice Equity Center, Department of Mathematics, Dean of Math and Sciences, Dean of Instructional Services, Dean of Career and Technical Education. Again, thank you very much for being here with us. And God bless you for all the things you have done in life. We wish you the best and amazing certificate program, amazing life, amazing experiences. And we look forward to talk with you more and learn more from your experiences.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. And again, this is the proud MiraCosta alumni here. I would say that, as I mentioned before, our mathematics program doesn't compare, because I was prepared when I transferred to San Diego State. Things that I've saw students struggling in, I was well versed into those whatever I saw them struggling in. So definitely appreciate it. And to all the students, keep your heads up, keep pushing. If one thing I would say, if there's ever a company that you are interested in working in, you should go into that company's career website and search for internship. Just because you are at the community college doesn't mean you cannot intern at those companies. They will in fact pay you. They will pay you while you intern, and allow the companies that are very flexible. They'll allow you to do, 20 hours or 10 hours a week of internship while you're in school. So they're willing to work with you. Also, that's another way to get a foot into a company. You intern with that company, they get to preview you, and you get to work on fun stuff, and that may shape whatever your future, what you want to do for future courses. That may shape that. So just for your essay. Once again, thank you, sir. Thank you so much for having me, Sean. I appreciate it.
Thank you for being here. God bless.
Thank you. Bye.